Today, we're going to talk about something that many of you are facing right now, or you may face this in the future. And I want to warn you, this conversation may not be easy, but it's going to be honest. What do you do when the person you love begins to disappear? Not physically at first, but mentally, when they can't remember what you told them yesterday, when they start to ask the same questions over and over, when they look at you and you can see they're trying to place who you are. My guest today, Sue Lick, lived through this with her husband, Fred. Theirs was a second marriage for both of them, and Fred was almost 15 years older than Sue. In her memoir, No Way Out of This, Loving a Partner with Alzheimer's, she doesn't just tell us about the medical journey. She tells us about the financial strain, the identity crisis, the two badly behaved dogs that made everything harder, the guilt of placing Fred in memory care, and the messy, contradictory emotions that come with watching someone you love slowly slip away. Welcome to Boomer Banter, where we have real talk about aging well. I am your host, Wendy Green, and every week we talk about the challenges, the changes, and the possibilities that come with this season of life. And if you're caring for someone with dementia, or if you're caring for aging parents, this conversation is for you. Because Sue's going to validate something you probably already know, but you're afraid to say out loud. Caregiving is hard. It can be really hard. And you don't have to be perfect at it. So, Sue Lick, welcome to Boomer Banter.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that nice introduction.
Well, there's so much to talk about here. So I want to start, where most of us start at the beginning. So how long were you married to Fred before you started noticing something wasn't right?
It was about 15 years in.
Okay.
We had moved to Oregon in 96, and 2002 is when we really knew something was not right.
So you had 15 good years leading up to that.
Oh, yeah. And he was so healthy and youthful, and his parents lived a long time and were energetic. And it's like, okay, he's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah, it was a good investment.
Yeah, it seemed like it.
So what were some of the first signs that you saw, Sue, that were troubling?
Well, I went through this with my grandfather, so I had seen a certain amount of dementia before, and I'd also written about it, and I used to sing for memory care centers and things. So, I had some experience. There was a good period of about a year, I think, where we never fought much, but we were arguing because he didn't seem to remember anything I told him, and I'd be like, don't you care enough to remember? I told you that, And I'm sure a lot of people go through that. I told you that. How come you don't remember? Isn't it important to you? So there was that. He was with his mother when she died in 2001. And that evening he said, I'm really having trouble remembering things. And I said, well, you've just been through a stressful thing, and, I'll help you remember. It's okay. But, this is a man who was always turning to me to ask what was on the calendar for the day. What's the person, I was like the carrier of the information, and didn't even realize that this was a problem. It's, just an absent-minded guy,
Right. And that was your role. I mean, you just assumed that was normal. Yeah. So at what point did you start to say, oh, maybe there is something more serious here? I mean, was it after his mother's passing or?
Yeah, unfortunately, my mother passed not long after. And in that period in between, I was doing a lot of research and reading, and you look at all the things online and what are the signs, what are the symptoms, and you're going, oh yeah, yep, yep, uh-oh.
Uh-oh. I know, because we all make excuses, right? Like, where did I put my phone or my keys, or why am I standing here in front of the refrigerator?
Oh,
And we
oh,
do start to look for signs, but this was different.
yeah. When things would come up, he couldn't remember his name and address. I remember he went to give blood, and he did that on a regular basis. And they turned him away because he couldn't give his home information, his phone number and address. He was brokenhearted.
Yeah, but he was young. He was what, 65 when this started?
Yes, yes. So sort of borderline early onset.
Oof. So did you like go to the doctor and get an official diagnosis at some point?
Yes, eventually. We went to our regular doctor. We live in a small rural town where we don't have a lot of specialists and things. And our regular doctor said, well, Fred just drinks too much. That's what it is.
Mm.
He enjoyed his wine, but, that
Did you
wasn't,
agree? Did you think he drank too much?
no, no, no. He wasn't, that wasn't a problem really. But, but I was pretty sure that wasn't it. But
Mm-hmm.
it took 2 years to get to a specialist who was 2 hours away, and
4 hours away?
2.
2 hours away. Still.
Yes, I know, still, and he was rude and
Ugh.
abrupt, and he administered what they call the mini mental exam, and, said, "Well, yeah, looks like that's what you got," and then he was out the door.
No further discussion with you about it.
No, no.
So you and Fred, you must have looked at each other and was like, what just happened?
Uh-huh. Pretty much. Yeah. We got in the elevator and looked at each other and said, now what?
Yeah. So now what? Did you go back to his regular doctor, or?
We went to this guy a couple of times, got some prescriptions. Some of them backfired, and he had hallucinations and things that were really bad. But I still joined the local support group. There was a local psychologist who hosted a support group here, and most of them were going to this other guy who was a little closer. And we changed doctors and went to him, and he was terrific. He really was.
Oh, that makes such a big difference.
Yeah, he was kind, and he always acted like he had all the time in the world, and and he knew his stuff. You know.
Yeah, and it sounds like from your book that you and Fred both developed a very trusting relationship with him.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So as this was progressing, how aware was Fred of what was happening to him?
He was aware. He was frustrated. He was a man who, well, he was a supervisor in the recreation department in San Jose when he was working, but he also had a tax preparation business, and he had to, he sold that business, but he tried it one more year,
Mm.
but he made a lot of mistakes, and people were getting letters from the IRS, and that was terrible. And I can remember the day that he sold his practice, and he took his business cards and turned them backwards on a little
Oh,
stand. And it's like, oh, but yeah, he knew at first, and it was very frustrating and hard for him and for me. It's,
and for you, heartbreaking.
yeah, it's like he couldn't operate things like the TV remote, and started having trouble reading. He loved to read, and he couldn't, and he was the one who always taught me what to do on the computer. And suddenly I was the one going, no, 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 don't do that. Do this. And,
Yeah, so I was going to ask you about that. Like, your roles started to change, and
sure.
you were
Yeah.
suddenly in charge of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had to do my own taxes for the first time.
And you were working. Like, tell me about what daily life was like at that point.
Well, I was doing a lot of freelance writing for local newspapers and things, and doing a lot of creative writing too, and playing music at the church. That was a part-time job as a music minister. And, I had a busy life, and I got my MFA in the middle of Fred's illness. And,
Oh,
I was 51 when I graduated, and I wanted to teach. And I started teaching, but as he got worse, I couldn't leave him, and he didn't even understand where I was going or what I was doing, and
Yeah.
had to give it up.
And did you bring help into the house, Sue?
I did the last couple of years, yeah, before he went into nursing homes. I did. And he didn't want it. It's like, I don't need that. We don't need that. And I said, well, I need some help around the house. You kind of do the workarounds, they'll help me clean, they'll help shop and things. And some of them were terrible, really useless, and some of them were very helpful. They'd take him out to lunch, they'd take him shopping. He loved to shop, and I hate it. Take him shopping or go to lunch or whatever, just, and they'd do some cleaning or cooking to make sure he had his meals, but and just keep him company.
Yeah. And he got to where he was more comfortable with that?
The last couple ladies that we had were really terrific. In fact, one of them is a friend now. But
Really? Oh, that's nice.
yeah, because we had people that were more trouble than they were worth. And at one
So,
point,
so give us some insight into that, because people are going to experience this as they're going on their own journeys.
yeah, my dad experienced it too. It's, you get people who don't show up, who just sit and look at their cell phones, who don't actually do anything, or who don't connect with the person, who don't understand that you're there mostly for them,
And
It's,
what kinds of things, though? So you invite somebody into your house to care for your husband, so that, I guess, so that you can teach or write or
right,
clean,
right.
whatever.
Yes.
What kinds of things were you asking them to do?
Well, they were doing some house cleaning, some shopping, uh, you know, just keeping Fred company mostly. So he was still volunteering at the Oregon Coast Aquarium until the end.
So they
So
would take him there?
yeah, yeah. I mean, he had to stop driving, and so people would give him rides and just keep him busy,
Mm.
basically. Whatever, play cards, whatever they could do to keep him occupied while I was madly making copies for my handouts and preparing for my classes and going and doing them.
Yeah. Yeah, but not showing up. Oh boy, that's probably the
Oh yeah,
worst.
I know. And oh, I have Fred lost our checkbook and at one point because they went to the grocery store, and the guy was off playing the lottery machine.
He just left Fred?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So you get people who do that are not paying any attention to him really. And we had one guy that was like, this guy's from heaven. He's wonderful. But he quit. He went off to some other activity.
Oh no.
And so there was a lot of that people just don't stay in that kind of work.
Yeah.
My dad had one who ran her car into his garage door and broke it.
Oh my gosh. And meanwhile, you're just trying to hold everything together.
Right, right.
And then you had those crazy dogs, Sue. I'm sorry, but we have to talk about the one particularly crazy dog.
Oh yeah, my babies.
Uh,
It was really not wise to adopt puppies at that point. And Fred couldn't handle them at all.
and when you got them, you already knew about his diagnosis?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yes.
he was well into it. But yeah, my old dog had died, and we both missed her a lot. And I saw a thing at the post office, an advertisement for puppies, and I said, let's go look. And I wanted to get just one, but then Fred's holding this other little guy. It's like, oh, can we get two? Well, they were little and cute, and sure. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Because they don't stay little and cute.
No, and when they're little, it's like having an infant. I mean, they're whining and chewing and peeing and pooing everywhere, and oh my gosh. But yeah.
But that one whose name is escaping me, you
So
couldn't get him trained to stay in the yard.
he was wonderful in obedience school, but he wouldn't stay home. He just kept jumping the fence, and I built a higher fence, and he got over that too. And yeah, it was too much and broke my heart, but I had to get rid of him.
I know, but that wasn't until Fred was already in the nursing home.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. But I would come home from visiting him, and the neighbor would say, "Oh, your dog's out again," and
Jeez.
God knows where he is.
Ugh, I know that part of the story in the book. I'm just like, Sue, you got enough on your hands. You don't have to chase this dog. I'm talking to you in the book. I'm like, Sue, come on.
I know, I know. Yeah. I kept Annie until she passed a couple years ago, and
Yeah, and I know we develop these relationships with these pets, and especially with Fred gone. I mean, you needed the company, but
yeah,
oh dear, that was so hard.
yeah, yeah.
So
And
hard.
I don't have another one now, and people keep nagging me to get one, and I'm thinking, how am I going to handle it? You know,
It's kind
it's
of
a
nice
lot.
to have a little time right now, I'm sure. So, so let's talk about the financial piece
Mm,
because this is definitely something that many of us are not prepared for.
true.
And so besides the emotional toll, it can be devastating financially. So what happened to your household income when Fred's condition progressed?
Um, um,
Sorry.
he was retired from city government. He had a pretty good pension, and he'd been the kind of guy who was always saving. Um, so we had a cushion in the bank, and his income was pretty good. But then the home health people cost $20 an hour, and now I think it's more about 30,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
when he had to go into nursing homes, I mean, ugh. The first day that he went into one, they wanted $7,500 in cash up front. That's a chunk.
And that's a chunk. And how long was that going to cover? How
Um,
much of his stay?
a month, I think. There were all kinds of like deposits and things to get started, but it was about 5 grand a month throughout, and
Oh my
that
gosh.
quickly erased what we had in savings. And signed up for Medicaid for government assistance, which was a harrowing process.
Yeah.
All the time it's like, well, okay, they want us to contribute as much as we can. What am I going to live on if all of his income goes to the nursing home? You know,
Right.
and
Right.
so we all our savings went away, and
Oh
it
boy.
was really, really tight for quite a while.
And you were making a little bit as a writer and a musician, but yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a fortune, because I was depending on his. I mean, he was getting a
Sure.
good pension.
But all of now to get Medicaid, did you have to give up his pension? I know sometimes you have to be destitute to get Medicaid.
Well, we had to spend out all our savings, and we wound up setting up what they called an income cap trust. I've got a friend who was a lawyer, got into it, and so that I got a portion of his pension, and a
Okay,
portion
good.
of it went to his care. I mean, it wasn't neither one was enough, but
Right.
enough. But we got by. But it was difficult, and you come out of it with nothing. If I didn't have a house, I'd be in deep trouble.
But he had a family. Did anybody step in to help?
No, no. And he was on the Oregon Health Plan, and things that, sorry, but people who don't have money, and yeah, no, nobody did. He had 3 children from his previous marriage, and no, they did not help in any way.
Mm. I'm sorry, and yet I also understand that's not terribly unusual.
No, I mean, they couldn't offer money. They didn't have any at the time, but
Mm.
yeah, I wish they'd offered a lot more moral support and practical support.
Right. Right. And that was definitely missing in your book. You were so on your own. Your family was in California, his kids weren't stepping in, and it was all on you.
Yeah, in retrospect, I should have been a lot more forceful about that and said, "Look, this is your father, and you have to at least help me make these decisions," you know, because
Do you think that would have made a difference for them?
maybe, it
Yeah.
was interesting to watch when their mother, their birth mother, got sick. They were all there, all
Mhm.
helping. And
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
what's the deal here?
Well, I guess maybe, I don't know, had she remarried?
No,
Yeah, so they were probably like, "Well, Sue's got this. She's strong."
so I got this.
Oh boy, I know. So you're managing all of this, the caregiving, the dogs, trying to do some work,
Right.
financial stress, and then Fred falls and he hurts his back and
Yeah.
everything changes. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, that was rough. I snuck out to do a couple of errands and came back, and he was hurt. His knees were bleeding and stuff. He had fallen outside, and I guess the dog got loose and he was chasing him. And so we took him. He went to the hospital 3 times in one weekend. Um,
Really? For
yeah,
that same fall?
from the same fall, because his cognitive abilities just took a dive with that.
Mm.
Um, he was really out of it. But yeah, they gave him Vicodin, which it turns out is very bad for people with Alzheimer's. And it kind of worked for the pain, and he was doing pretty well, but then he was down on the floor again. And,
Oh, jeez.
but,
You're like, "Give me the Vicodin."
yeah, really. Well, I thought it was a miracle drug until he was, on the floor again, and the ambulance came again.
Oh
Oh my
gosh. Because
God.
you couldn't get him up yourself, could you?
No, he was a 200-pound man, and he
Mm.
was fighting it all the way. No, 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 it hurts too much. I can't,
Oh gosh.
and yeah, I mean, he was not making any sense. He was shaking. He had this tremor thing going on as part of his illness, and yeah, and he was not making any sense. A friend of mine who had used to be a paramedic came over, said, "Let me take a look at him." I said, "Yeah, he needs to go to the hospital." And that third time, they kept him there, and they said, "Well, he really needs to be in full-time care. He can't be at home anymore." And he wasn't making any sense. And he kept throwing his sheets off and showing his genitals to the whole world. And, just not thinking we could just get up and walk through this wall. He was not making any sense. And, Medicare and all its glory is, if you've been through it, you know that you have to be in the hospital a certain amount of time and have it classified as acute care for them to pay for nursing home care afterwards.
Mhm.
And they did not classify it that way, and they booted him 24 hours before he could have gotten care paid for.
And
And
of course, why would you know that? I mean, this was your first time through it.
right. Yeah, well, actually, they did that with my mom too, but they said, "Go home and relax. He's not going anywhere." And then they called and said, "We're transporting him right now to the nursing home that's by the hospital. So show up with a week's worth of clothes and $7,500." And, you know,
Wow. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, so the insurance pitfalls are another thing to
Ugh.
to think about, be aware of when you're going through something like
It
this.
is, even with my dad, he's had some mental problems, but it was mostly physical, but he shattered his thigh at one point. He was in his 90s, and they sent him to a really bad nursing home, and I'm here in Oregon, and they call and say, "Your father has to we're not keeping him. He has to go."
What?
Because he wasn't making progress in physical therapy because he couldn't put any weight on his leg. So they said, "We can't keep him." It's like, but I'm in Oregon, and where's he gonna go?
Right?
So yeah.
Uh, okay, so the doctor tells you he can't come home anymore. He has to
Right,
go to
right.
what did that do to you, Sue?
Oh God. Well, I was surprised because I really thought we'd be going farther into the illness. I mean, Fred was still like showering and dressing himself and things like that on his own. The activities of daily living that they talk about, he was still
Mm.
doing them. You know, he didn't understand what to do with salad dressing and things like that. But he was still, I thought we'd be going farther into it before he'd have to go into care. Um, So I felt kind of guilty, like I hadn't done enough,
Mhm.
certainly guilty because he'd fallen. Um, it was interesting. It's like the first time I did laundry, I came home, it's like, I won't be washing his clothes anymore. I'm living alone. This is,
Yeah.
whoa, this is a shock. And he was so upset. I mean, he just cried and begged to come home and said, "I'll be good. I'll be good. Take me home." And, and you want to, you want to say,
Yes, of
"Yes,
course you
Caregiver,
do.
get in the car. We're going."
I
And
know,
and he
because you probably at some point were questioning yourself like, "Well, maybe if he comes home, I'll do a better job. I'll take care of him in a different way. I'll do more or whatever."
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yes, and, yeah, and at some point, he confused me with his first wife and thought I was divorcing him, because
Oh,
he didn't understand, "Why am I here in this whole different place with these people who I don't even know?" And, yeah,
yeah.
it was so hard. Yeah.
That is, I yeah, I felt your pain as I was reading that. I was like, "Oh my gosh." And so how long did he stay in that nursing home before he got moved again?
He was in 4 different places. Well, he
Mm.
was in the first place for a couple of months, but they were allegedly doing physical therapy, and that wasn't happening, and it was not a good place. So they were opening this new adult foster care place in town, and
Oh, that's
okay, and he would
right.
be one of the first residents there. Okay, that sounds perfect. 5 grand a month. I went with one of his caregivers and checked it out and moved him in, but they didn't know anything about Alzheimer's. Um, they didn't have any activities. There was nothing for him to do. There were times where I showed up and there was nobody to help the people there. You know, I remember an old guy needed to go to the bathroom, and I'm like, "Where are all those staff?" And I took him because there's
Ugh.
nobody there. I actually turned them into the state caregiver authorities, and they
Yeah, the way you described that was just horrible. Like, so, and I had never heard of that foster care for Alzheimer's or
Yeah, there's
dementia
a lot of them
patients.
actually. Yeah, my brother's mother-in-law is in one now. And they can be wonderful. It just, if they know what they need to do and how to do it. But they didn't keep the doors locked. He was doing a Chico, he started running away. Um, not
Chico,
necessarily
Chico is the dog. Yeah.
because the dog, not necessarily with clothes on. No. Yeah. So we moved into another place, an hour and a half away that was, a memory care center, which is very nice. It's still going. It's actually a beautiful place, and people really are well trained, but they don't handle medical stuff. It's strictly memory care, and they were very good until he needed more
Yeah. So
physical care.
if somebody listening was starting to explore different options for somewhere to live, I mean, what do you wish you had asked about that foster care or known more about the foster care that might have prevented you from going there?
Well, they were brand new and I believed what they said, and I'm not sure how I would have checked them out except to be maybe more suspicious. They said, "Oh, we know how to do this." It was a husband-wife team. The wife was a nurse in China. China. She was from China. She had been a nurse, and you know, it seemed like everything was good,
Mm,
but it wasn't. And I don't know when it's a new facility.
yeah.
You don't know how you check it out. If it's someplace that's been going a while, definitely visit, drop in, see if you can have a meal there,
Mm,
see how they're treating the people during mealtime and what they're serving, whether it's
yeah.
good food or not. Um, you know, definitely spend some time. And if you can get there at different times of day, how is it in the evening, how is it on a weekend? Even the
Mm,
good place, half the staff is gone on the weekends. They don't work weekends, and they just
ah,
put everybody in front of the TV and expect them to be amused. And I'd be sitting there looking at an old lady trying to get out of her wheelchair and thinking, okay, if she gets up, I'm gonna have to jump and grab her because there's no staff here, you know?
And this was at the good place.
This is at the good place, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk to people who have their loved ones there. I mean, definitely check it out all the way.
So you were heroic though, Sue. I mean, you made that drive every day.
No, I didn't make it every day.
It seemed like you made it every day from your book, an hour and a half there, then you would teach a class, then you'd go back. Like, unbelievable what you did to be there with Fred, and then sometimes he didn't know you.
Yeah, the first time he really truly didn't know me. I mean, for a long time he didn't know my name. I thought, well, it doesn't matter. I wore a name tag for a little while, but you know, as long as he knew I was the one he loved, I didn't care that
Yeah.
much. But the worst day was our 25th wedding anniversary because he truly did not know who I was. He looked at me like a stranger, and that just broke me. You know,
I
it just
bet.
broke my heart.
Ugh. And you tried to take him out for dinner that night, right?
Not that night.
Not that night?
We
That
just
was a
went through our
different.
photo albums and yeah, but no, but many times I did take him out,
Yeah,
but
so
it
that
got
was.
more and more difficult because, you know, it's messy, you know, you know.
Yeah, you talked about that too. I mean, the way he would eat, and it was just different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a child who doesn't know what to do with food and, you know, their food winds up everywhere on their face, on their clothes, on the table, and it's like, you know.
Mm.
And then if they have to go to the restroom, you're like, "Oh boy." You know?
Right, especially with, like, you can't take him into the men's room because you're a woman, so,
Mhm. So you wait outside the door and pray, "Okay, has it been too long? Do I need to do something?" You know?
send some man in who's not gonna know him, and it's, oh gosh.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. It
Is
didn't go out as much after a while, but, you know, I did take him out sometimes, and, you know, it's like at one point, because they don't remember they've already eaten, so he
mm,
started gaining a lot of weight. It's like, "You just
oh,
ate." "No, I'm starving." You know, and they would give him more food, so he gained weight, and we had to go out and buy some clothes, and
ugh,
it's like buying for a little boy, and then it's like, "Wait a minute, don't go anywhere while I pay for this," and, you know, it's like having a toddler.
yeah. And the showers, I mean, there were times that you talked about in the book where he was not cleaned up well by the staff before you got there.
No, well, this is really the last place he was in. The memory care center was pretty good, but the last place he was in was a Medicare place, approved place, and the care was terrible. He was
Medicare or Medicaid?
Medicaid, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Medicaid, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that was awful, and, no, he wasn't clean. I don't think he got much water to drink. He always was thirsty and crust on his mouth, and he wouldn't eat, and the food wasn't very good, but he just would not eat it, and they drugged him so much at that place.
Mm. And you continue to go and visit. You
Sure.
continue to feel loving feelings for this person who wasn't really the person you knew.
No, not anymore.
Did he at any point know you were his wife at that point?
No, I
No.
don't think so. I don't know. It's like when I used to visit my grandfather, I was just the woman in the black coat because you know, and I would sing for his folks at his place, and,
Aw,
he knew that, but he didn't really know I was his granddaughter anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you are amazing and unfortunate that you had to go through this so many times with so many family members, but so closely with Fred. And one of the things I really appreciate is your honesty. You know, you are not sugarcoating how difficult it was or the feelings that you had. And I think that's really helpful for people to know that feeling resentment or feeling guilt or feeling anger, those are normal feelings,
They absolutely are.
and lots of tears. I mean, how do you come back? You know, you leave feeling angry, you leave feeling frustrated, and then you come back being loving. I mean, what do you tell yourself?
Sometimes it's just obligation,
Mhm.
that you need to do this. And there are definitely, I've seen a lot of spouses who go every day and are basically there for every meal. And,
Mm.
they spend their whole life is hanging out at the nursing home.
Wow.
It, you know, I would be watching the clock and going, well, especially with my dad, but with Fred too. Has it been long enough? Can I go now?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it's hard, and there's nothing, you can't have much of a conversation, you know,
Mhm.
not too much anyway.
Yeah.
You're coming up with, okay, what's all the happy small talk that I can bring up? I'm not going to tell them all the troubles or anything or negative
Darn
stuff.
dog got out again.
Well, yeah, it's like, "You have a dog?" But we're not gonna talk about politics or anything deep because they don't know. They're
Yeah.
sitting there and it's like, "Huh, your ring looks like my ring," you know?
Uh,
"Yeah, that's 'cause we're married," you know?
Interesting. Ugh.
Yeah.
So to take care of yourself, you had the support group. Did you stay with that for a long time?
I did, I stayed with that until he was in a nursing home, and then they said, "Well, you don't really fit our criteria anymore." So
The group said that to you?
yeah, yeah, it was really for people who were caring for folks at home. Um, Now the
Wow.
nursing home had a group, but I wasn't gonna drive that extra time to go to a group there. So
Wow. So you lost that support. So then what did you do? Did you find another group or therapy or?
I was in therapy through pretty much the whole thing. Um, I started therapy after my mother died. I went for a little while to a grief support group,
Mhm.
and that wasn't working, and all I wanted to talk about was Fred, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I went into individual therapy, yeah.
And was that helpful?
It was person I had moved back to California after a while, but then the next one I got, she was a saint. She
Oh,
was really wonderful, and
yeah.
yeah, she was very helpful. And I don't know how you get through it without somebody to talk to.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, I can't believe the group kicked you out. So
It's
now you're like, "Wait a minute,
nobody
I'm still."
understands unless they've been there.
I think that's probably true. Yeah, I mean, we can intellectualize it, which is what some of what we're doing in
Mhm.
this conversation, talking about what happens, how people can think about it, but yeah, so how long after Fred passed did you put together this book?
I had been writing the whole time. I would sneak into my office or write in my car or whatever. I'd been taking notes. So I had about 1,000 pages of journal
Wow.
that I condensed into a book. So it was a matter of several years. But before I got serious about it, and it's like I didn't want to be talking about Alzheimer's all the time,
Mm.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's an important story to tell. So I did do it.
So what do you normally write about, Sue?
Um, Lately I've been writing a lot about living alone, but
Mm.
I've done a couple of books on childlessness since I don't have children of my own. We didn't have any kids together.
Mhm.
And so I've written about childlessness for a long time. And this is a natural progression. If your partner with whom you're childless passes, then you're alone. Um,
Solo aging, yeah.
Solo aging, that is the focus these days. I've got a Substack called Can I Do It Alone?
Mm.
It's getting a lot of traction. There are a lot of people out there who are alone or who are afraid of being alone. They're taking care of someone now, and they can see their future is going to be solo. So there are
Yeah,
a lot of people. I mean, people don't realize 27% of American households are occupied by just one person.
yeah,
That's a lot.
yeah. That is a lot, and I wonder what percentage of those have children that might be able to help, but, not all children step up either, so
No, you can't count on that, or that, the way this way society is now, they may live across the country, and might not be able to help at all.
and so as a solo ager, I know this is veering off a little bit, but as a solo ager, you still have to figure out who is gonna be your community because
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
takes a village, right?
It does, and that's a lot of it. You need to build the connections that you don't have naturally because you're not, you're not surrounded by loving family who will be there. If you go to the doctor and they want to know who your emergency contact is, you have to think a bit
Yeah,
because it's
like
not
who's
just you put down your husband or your child, you know.
yeah, yeah, it's a whole other set of challenges to face. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
So, what message would you want people who are in the middle of this caregiving right now, or who see it coming? What message would you want to leave them with?
Ooh, you'll get through it. You've got to take care of yourself as much as you can and keep as much of your own life as you can because you're going to need it when it's over. And ask for help, demand help. If there are family members around who aren't stepping up, insist. Don't
Mhm.
just let it slide, you know.
And that's a really good point because I think a lot of us in this boomer generation, right? We were so independent.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
there's almost this mindset, well, if I ask for help, then I'm admitting that I'm not able to do it myself. And no, ask for help.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And not just family either. Friends are actually like to help most of the time. They're
Yeah.
glad to be asked. They see you're in trouble and they don't know what to do. I mean, if
Mhm.
you can say, "Hey, could you go get this prescription for me?" They'll do it. And it's not
Yeah.
that big a trouble, you know?
Right.
But if you don't ask, they don't even know that you need help. If you present this, "We're okay" thing,
Right.
they don't know.
But in your situation, though, you probably couldn't have asked them to come stay with Fred so you could do something because if he's, not knowing what's going on, that might have been more upsetting. Is that right?
Well, I did, though. I
You
had one
did.
friend from church come stay with him, and there was a weekend that I took myself off to bluegrass camp,
You
which
did?
oh, yeah, it was wonderful. But his 2 sons came, and I had to pay them to
You
stay.
had to pay his sons?
Yeah,
I
and he
shouldn't.
didn't understand why they were
He didn't understand why they were there.
right, why they were yeah, but they did the thing that one time.
Did he know them then?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so
And
I think they
all
had some fun,
I hope
but,
so.
yeah, people aren't gonna jump in unless you ask. My neighbor asked me to sit with her husband when he was still alive and had dementia, and, I s yeek, okay, I didn't know him very well,
Yeah.
but I did, and, we did our best to have a decent conversation, and, it wasn't so bad.
Oh. Well, thank you so much, Sue, for sharing your story and for giving us permission to feel all the feelings and to make some of these hard decisions and really to be imperfect caregivers. We do the best that we can, right?
Yeah, nobody's perfect at this, nobody, and, you know, you have your own things, and there are gonna be days when you just can't deal, you know?
And that's honest. That's the thing. Like people say it in the back room of their house, but to say it out loud that they can't do it is not easy for people to admit.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
True.
So
I remember one day when I called my neighbor across the street, I said, "Can I just come over? You know, I can't handle this anymore. Just can I come over and talk?" You know? She
I mean, this ability to be honest and vulnerable is a big part of who you are, obviously.
right.
But caregiving is one of the hardest things that any of us will ever have to do because there's no instruction manual, and typically we're caregiving. I mean, I know people that have to caregive for children, but typically we're caregiving for an elderly parent or a
Right.
spouse, and so you kind of have this expectation that they're an adult, it's hard.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of guilt and worry about what's coming and And you're looking at the money and
That's
all
right.
kinds of things.
Mm.
It's complicated. If you have issues, people have issues with their parent or their spouse that are not resolved. This could make it even worse.
Yeah. Well, let me show people how they can find you. You have a website called SueLick.com, Lick, L-I-C-K. And all of your books are there, right?
Right.
And your Substack.
Mm-hmm.
And Sue's book is called No Way Out. What is it? Loving a partner with, loving a partner with Alzheimer's. And I highly recommend it. It's well written. I have a lot of books I have to read for this show, and
Yes.
there was a lot of takeaways for me in this book. I'm, just starting on a caregiving journey with my mom. She does not have Alzheimer's, thank goodness. But there was still a lot of things to consider as I was reading through some of what you went through. So thank you for being so honest and vulnerable and sharing your book.
Well, thank you. And I sympathize, having dealt with my father and my grandfather and my mother-in-law to a certain extent. It's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're okay, but you're right, it's not easy. So thank you all for listening to Boomer Banter. And I know there was a lot here that you guys found insightful and helpful, and I really hope that you will share this with people who might need to hear it. And remember that none of us are perfect. We're all doing the best we can, and we're figuring this out together. So my name is Wendy Green, and I hope all of you will take good care of yourselves. Thanks, Sue.
Thank you, Wendy. It's been great.